So good evening, good evening, everyone. I am here to report about establishing species relationship using a cladogram and phylogenetic trees. The learning objective. In this lesson, you should be able to do the following. First, identify the parts and function of a cladogram and phylogenetic tree. Second, determine the relationship between organisms by using cladograms and phylogenetic trees. Cladogram. Recall that a cladogram shows relationship of organisms based on the characteristics that they share. A cladogram's basis for grouping organisms together is not through evolutionary relationships. Parts of a cladogram and phylogenetic trees. Both cladograms and phylogenetic trees have specific parts that can help the reader interpret the information contained within the diagrams. This section will discuss some of these parts. Constructing a cladogram. Creating a cladogram involves finding traits that can be used for grouping organisms together or separating them into distinct branches. This shows the traits associated with specific animals, wherein the score indicates the number of traits present in each animal. The organism that has the lowest score has the least in common out of all the organisms. It can then be designated as the outgroup. The other organisms can be placed into the cladogram accordingly based on the presence or absence of traits. The easiest way to do is to place them in succession, with the organism with the second lowest score following the outgroup. The traits that separate these organisms must also be added to the internodes. This will continue until all organisms have been placed, with the final product similar to the datagram shown below in 17.2. This is the final cladogram product of the table based on a scoring procedure. Phylogenetic trees. Phylogenetic studies also show relationships between organisms. However, while diagrams use similar characteristics for grouping organisms, a phylogenetic tree uses genetic sequence to assess the evolutionary relationship between different taxa. Recall that DNA sequence between closely related organisms are highly similar. Thus, by comparing the DNA sequence of organisms to determine how different or similar they are, scientists can also determine how evolution has taken its course. This also shows evolutionary relationship between the clades in question, like a cladogram. This is the parts of a phylogenetic tree. Phylogenetic trees contain information about the phylogeny or the evolutionary history of the clades within them. Interpreting a phylogenetic tree has a few differences from interpreting a cladogram. Interpreting phylogenetic trees. Much like in interpreting a cladogram, the interpretation of a phylogenetic tree requires the tracing of branches in order to determine the evolutionary lineage of a clade or species, starting from the root of the tree and tracing the branches in order to eventually lead to the nodes can help. Thank you.
Wala ka? Wala.
Wait a minute.
Wala. 4 minutes na.
Yeah.